Hello, you're listening to Hibs Talk. I'm your host as always, Gav, and making his debut, just like Jack Ross is going to be on Saturday, or a week on Saturday, is Nick. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good, thanks very much. How are you?
Does a manager make his debut? Or does he just start?
He just starts, he just turns up and starts running the show.
Aye. So how you doing yourself?
I'm good. It's been a good old week. I can't complain.
Good. Just a brief history in your life of being a Hibs supporter. What's it been like?
Oh, it's been alright. I attended the Skull Cup when I was a little child, so at least seen us lift some of our silverware with a good 15-year gap until 2007. Unfortunately though, I did sit through the 5-1.
Aye.
I did have to go, and I sat through the 2-0 at Livingston too in that dreadful cup final. But as always with a Hibby, there's probably more lows than highs. Aye. But the highs are high. So we're going to get on to Jack Ross pretty much the whole episode, but before that, a couple of things just to quickly touch on. Let's just start with the great news that hopefully he starts tomorrow. Ryan Porteous has been called up to the Scotland squad, obviously earlier in the week, but our first chance to kind of talk about what's your kind of thoughts on that? I think he deserves it. Certainly is one of the most prominent young centre-backs in the league. He's shown it. I'm surprised he's been called up so quickly after his long-term injury. Whether Steve Clarke plays him or not is the question. I think he should probably start, but
looking at the probable teams and all that, it's like Devlin and McKenna, and I'm like, should Devlin really be starting ahead of Porteous? I know I don't watch Aberdeen every week, but come on.
Well, I'm sure Aberdeen fans will argue differently as well and say that he should, but for me, no. I think especially in these games that are left now in the run-up to them, I think that he should definitely be given a start.
Yeah. And rumours of a return, in the goalkeeper department, Adam Bogdan.
I'm happy to see him back, to be fair, but unfortunately I think that tells us that offer's probably on the way out.
Think so, even though that it's only apparently rumoured only a deal until the end of January, which is quite a strange one.
It is a very strange one. I don't understand what kind of impact they're expecting him to make when, if offer is still going to be there, well, he will still be there till January with him competing with Maxwell for the gloves, then what's Bogdan been brought in for? I don't understand what his role is, but unless he's trying to play for a more permanent contract after that, they've said to him maybe with Jack Ross coming in, and there might be a question over goalkeepers. So
the only thing I could think of was the MLS season starts. I mean, I've always sort of seen him just, because he's played for Liverpool and he's a big name and stuff, and the money in America. I've always sort of seen him maybe going to America. Their season starts in February. Maybe this is a opportunity to come in. Somebody knows, even just sort of being on the training pitch and things, and keep himself match sharp so that he can kick on for February. Hopefully we can sort of get him on a longer term deal, because he done a great job last season. He did,
and I know I read in the papers, I think it was yesterday, that he's quite well liked at the club, that they enjoyed having him round for the last season as well. But if we're only keeping him warm to then go to America, I wonder what the point in spending the wages is.
True. So we'll wait and see what happens to that, but great to have him back if that one materialises, which we expect it to. And obviously the final bit of news, which is going to be the whole podcast today. We've got loads of Hibs fans phoning in with their opinion. I'll say loads, it's about two. And we've got a Sunderland fan who was originally meant to phone in, but due to commitments with my kids and stuff, he's just sent over some quotes. So I'll read out his quotes and his thoughts. I have some questions we put to him. So let's just get started ourselves then. Jack Ross, initial thoughts?
I'm happy. He was a man for me. Obviously, one of the main complaints about Paul Heckingbottom's tenure was that he didn't know Scottish football, and the quality player that he brought into the club wasn't quite good enough. But then on the flip side, you're seeing a lot of Hibs fans bemoan the lack of ambition from the board. But you need somebody who knows the game up here. You need somebody who understands the quality player it is to compete up here, and I think that's certainly what Paul Heckingbottom came up short with. I don't know a lot about his style of football. I don't know if he plays attractive football or if he's more playing out the back or playing out the middle, but we can only hope and pray that it's definitely an improvement for Paul.
Yeah. And I mean, he's coming with a, at least he did. His stock was really high before the Sunderland job. That's why he got the Sunderland job. He was linked to even like the Scotland job with Aberdeen. When McKinnon was talking McInnes going down south, he was seen as automatic replacement, and his stock was very high before he went to Sunderland.
I think his stock probably is still quite high. For being an ex-Hearts coach as well, I'm surprised that more didn't materialise for the Hearts end about him taking that job. So I'm happy to have him. If you can fail at Sunderland in League One with maybe the budgets that they had, maybe he's reduced his stock a little in the other club's eyes. But I certainly think he'll do an alright job. I think if we give him time, you need to see a massive improvement in the team by the end of the season, no doubt. But I'd certainly hope that he can kick us on, that he can maybe reinvigorise the team that we've got at the moment and the players that we do have. January will definitely be interesting for him.
Yeah. How much changes do you foresee coming in January?
Well, that depends on the big man at the top. That depends on Big Ron. He's surely been given assurances over what kind of playing budget he's going to be getting and what kind of money he's allowed to spend. You would hope it's a decent sized amount in comparison for what Hibs spend, but January will be important. If we can get rid of some of the players that he's not happy with out the door, I'm sure that'll free up even more wages for him. But January definitely will be important for him. Will he be given loads of money to spend? I very much doubt it. I'm not too sure about his player recruitment history. I don't know how well he's done at St Mirren in terms of bringing players in that were relatively unknown that then kicked on at St Mirren and done well. But yeah, I've certainly got faith.
And one player who a lot of folk have been critical of this season, even the Terrace, I don't know if you watched the Terrace, the interview from the Terrace last week, they were quite critical of Stevie Mallan. Is this an opportunity for Stevie Mallan to have a manager that really knows him well and how to get the best out of him, albeit in the Championship? Sort of, is this a real opportunity, a real lifeline for Stevie Mallan to, I maybe wouldn't go as far as save his Hibs career, but turn around this season?
Indeed, and Jack Ross obviously knows him well. I hope that he would at least be played in possession, which has obviously been Stevie Mallan's problem since he arrived.
What would you say his strongest position is?
It's definitely not sitting in front of that back four. I don't think I've seen a player do just as bad a job as what Stevie Mallan's done recently, sitting in front of that back four. I think they played him out wide. I think Heckingbottom played him out wide a couple of weeks ago, and he got an alright return for there. It's a hard one because I think naturally he probably plays a few feet deeper than what Scott Allen plays at the moment. I think obviously he can ping a ball, we all know that. It'll be hard for him to fit in that midfield. If we're going to play two up front, I think naturally that reduces Mallan's chances of getting in the team, which I'd be happy if he gets less chances if we are playing two up front. I mean, I think Hibs have to be playing up two up front at all times, so Stevie will find it hard to get a game. But yeah, surely Jack Ross is looking at him going, I know what I got, I know what kind of player that I've got inside the dressing room, and I like him. He scored a lot of goals when he first turned up. Maybe his work rate isn't the greatest at times, but I do hope for him. I think he's a talented player, and given enough hard work, I'm sure he'll get there.
I think when we've seen him moved away from the centre, it's been out to right midfield, and to me, I think he's going to be like an attacking left midfielder. I'm not saying we'll go back to that 4-2-3-1 that Hecky was playing all the time. It was never working, but that sort of position I think suits him, because then he can either cut inside on his right foot and put a dangerous cross in, or he can cut inside, get into space and hit it. Or if he's going inside, the fullback would be expecting the shot, he'll come in with him, and it allows for like Stevenson to overlap and have more space. So I think that would be his best position from my point of view. But and I'm sure he played there for St Mirren, so it'll be interesting to see if Jack Ross employs it there. But yeah, so what's your kind of hesitations with Jack Ross?
Again, his style of football is, reading through the message boards and reading through comments for Sunderland fans, he has the tendency to go 1-0 and hold on to a lead, try and hold on to a lead.
We've seen that before.
Yeah, we have seen that plenty of times, unfortunately, this season. I hope he's better at it than what Paul Heckingbottom was. Would hopefully be the way forward, but you would hope he would learn from that from Sunderland. I read the stat that in 75 games he only lost 10 but took 19 draws in his time at Sunderland, and 19 draws isn't good enough in any league.
We mentioned that Sean, who's coming on, wrote an article, the Sunderland fan, who wrote an article, and we mentioned it last week that folks didn't hear it. I think it was 19 draws they had last season, and they sort of made the point, if you turn 9 of them into wins, then they win the league by 20 points.
Oh, they would have been automatic promotion now. They wouldn't have had to go through the playoff rigmarole. You hope he learns. You hope that every manager learns the previous job that they've been in. I hope he can come to Hibs, and I hope he can play good football. I think that's expected for the fans and the board at all times. And
your thoughts on 3.5 year deal, really sort of backing the manager?
I think we've got a record of backing managers when they come in. I think Heckingbottom was given the same deal. He's given 3.5.
Yeah, he was a 3.5 or 2.5, I can't remember. But
well, yeah, the half season there, and then at least a couple of years. So I would hope so. And obviously Sunderland gave him 2.5 overall, year and a half maybe. But 3.5 is good. I think if you're going to employ somebody, you have to show that you have confidence in their ability to do it. Whether he's been like the whole Michael Appleton fiasco, whether he's took a clause that says I won't take 2 years of my wages if I'm sacked within 6 months or so, but 3.5 I feel is a good deal for him. I feel that it gives them enough time to rebuild and enough time to put a stamp on the team.
Hopefully, I mean, like, there's, there was a lot of buzz about Jack Ross before the time at Sunderland. I'm hoping that buzz kind of comes back and we've got clubs sniffing about him in a year's time. I think one of the things that, he was praised on at Sunderland was he got rid of a lot of the deadwood and he got the squad to a really good squad. Personally, I don't think we're in that situation. I know people are, ruling out Vela and Newell already, but I think that given, time under Ross, I think they'll come good. So I think there's an opportunity for him to go in, get the squad set quite early on, and get a starting 11, hopefully a consistent starting 11, because that's chopping and changing. Crazy the heck he went back to that when he never done that last season, had so much success under it. So consistency is key. Get a settled starting 11 and play two up top.
Play two up top. I think every Hibs fan will be screaming at Jack Ross the minute he comes through the door. You have to give Doidge and Canberra the game together.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
So I mean, we spoke about this last week, but quickly thoughts on that. I mean, we played the Diamond against St Johnstone. Is that the best way to achieve that? Against
teams like St Johnstone, I think it is. I think obviously we're always going to have problems when you go to the Old Firm and you try and play two up top. You're always going to leave yourself vulnerable.
Is that where 5-3-2 comes in, which Stephen Money shut up a bit?
I'm not the greatest fan of 5-3-2. I don't think Stevenson on the left, or if Gray, or if you're going to play James taking up the right side either. They're not naturally bombing wing backs. They're not going to do that job all that well, especially Lewis at his age now. But I would prefer to see a 4-5-1 against the Old Firm, to be fair, rather than a 5.
So as I said, we had Sean from the SAFC blog meant to come on, and he was going to kind of discuss Heckingbottom. Jack Ross, but due to commitments he's kind of had to pull out of that, so he sent us over some quotes. First thing we asked him was he sacked too early? He said yes, probably. Ultimately failed last season, but it was a tough gig. 32,000 fans every week is great, but we created a culture of we should be beating teams like that. What's your kind of reaction to that?
Well, when you're the size of Sunderland in League One, you would expect that, especially with the playing budget that they did have in comparison to other teams. But like you said, he took out a lot of the deadwood early on, so I feel he was probably cut short in his amount of time to properly rebuild and given enough time to implement his own style. It's unfortunate they never got out the first time of trying, but I feel he probably should have been given more time at Sunderland.
And we kind of asked him what went wrong, and he's kind of gone over the expectations, obviously huge at Sunderland, and he felt it was a huge jump, but also the owners, the club are in a mess now, and as we kind of talked about, and as he mentioned in the article, 19 draws, and a season's really not good.
No, definitely not. 19 draws, and as we said, you turn 9 of the 19 draws and it wins, you've ran away with the league, you're going to get up. But again, it's the problem that I worry for Jack Ross is that, and very much in the Heckingbottom style, going 1-0 up and then closing ranks and trying to get away with a 1-0. Unfortunately, I hope he's learned it. It's not going to cut it up here.
But I mean, he definitely did go into a tough gig at Sunderland. As he kind of, as Sean points out here, over the last 3 years, Sunderland have had, players refusing to players, pissed up players crashing cars, scrapping in town, Adam Johnson situation. That club's had a lot going on. That was a really tough gig to go into.
Of course, and he has to be applauded for taking it in the first place. Sunderland has been well known to be a poison chalice for the last few years for any manager that was going to walk into that job. So definitely has to be given credit for walking into that job and trying to do what he did. But when expectations are as high as they were at Sunderland and you can't get out of League One, I don't think you can complain too much about his sacking.
The biggest criticism from not from Sean's point of view, but fans, was his demeanour on the touchline. He kind of showed zero emotion on the sideline. What's your thoughts to that? We just came for Heck. He was quite emotionless on the touchline. Would you like to see a manager that's more, John Hughes
or Neil Lennon, for that matter? Yeah, I do like to see passion from my managers. There's no doubt, but from what I've heard, especially at his time at Alloa, he's actually quite a motivational manager to his players behind closed doors. He does a lot of work. He's the arm round your shoulder kind of manager in private. So his touchline demeanour to me, as long as he's winning games, I don't actually mind. He can be quiet and sit in his chair all game.
We'd asked him if Hibs fans should have any hesitations about the appointment. He said none. And the final question we asked him is, why did he not play Dylan McGeoch more? He said he's a great pass of the ball, the best at our club. Something's gone wrong. Maybe a poor trainer. Frustrating though, as he was either the best player on the pitch or completely anonymous. You'll expect to see him in January.
I hope so. I'd take Dylan back in a second, but that depends whether if Dylan can't get a game at Sunderland under Jack Ross, then if he's got to bring the same style of play up, I wonder if he's got any faith left in Dylan to do the job that he wants him to do. I'd take Dylan back in a second, though, without a doubt. Whether he wants to come back is questionable.
I mean, he's a footballer. You know, he's kind of experienced not playing through injury. He knows the frustration of that. If he's fit, it's going to be. I can't think of anything worse than sitting on the sideline, being an injured player, not getting to play, and then going to a club and being fit and not playing.
When you're on 5 digits a week, I'm sure that isn't that much an issue. You know, I'm sure he was probably on 10 grand plus by the time he went to Sunderland. So if I'm crocked, I'd happily sit on my arse for 10 grand a week.
And he said finally, and she's got some effing cracking clothes.
Well, it's surely better than Paul Heckingbottom style.
I don't know, so. But Paul had a few nice jumpers.
I think so.
Unfortunately, one of the nicest ones he probably wore was Ibrox, and that was a forgettable game. So, aye. But yeah, what's your kind of initial? So we'll kind of went through that. What's your kind of thoughts on that from hearing Sunderland's point?
It seems pretty positive. As I've read on the message boards and online too, most Sunderland fans feel it was a bit premature for his sacking.
Especially when you see how Sunderland are doing now. 3-0 they got beat last night.
Well, yeah, they've stumbled further and further down that table. I think he left them in 6th at the end of last month, or 5th position, which is a hard pill to swallow if you're any manager. You know what I mean? You're still in the mix for playoffs within 3 months into the season. But yeah, I hope we can be as optimistic as Sunderland fans were when he came through the door.
So joining us now on the line to react to the news about the new manager is Callum. How you doing, Callum?
I'm good, Gav. You?
Yeah, good. Can't complain. So, and before we get to Jack Ross, initial thoughts on Hecky leaving? Was it the right time for him to go?
I think so. I think there was our argument maybe a few weeks earlier. We saw Hearts get rid of Levine before their cup game. I think we possibly could have done the same. I don't think we were expecting any different than what we saw. The semi-final was nothing but a good day out, and that was about it. But yeah, I think it was definitely at least a few weeks overdue, if anything. I know some people in the media more than anything maybe said he should have had a bit longer, but I think he'd lost the fans, and once that happens, you've got no chance. 90% I would have said were at least on him going, so he was never turning it back round after that.
Right, first question then. Do you think Jack Ross turned down Hearts for us?
I'd love to say yes. I hope so. I don't know. They seem to be interviewing everybody.
I know. Stuart McCall, I think's one I've seen, and aye,
he's been there today apparently. Yeah. So Neil McCann today as well, I think, was another one.
Yeah.
So I mean, it must just be a case of if you go past Tynecastle this week, you're getting an interview. So.
So, what's your initial thoughts to Jack Ross then?
I think the phrase is cautiously optimistic. I think I always probably try and do that about every Hibs manager, which when you look at our success rate of managers is probably quite daft. But on one side, you've got to look at his record. I think from our point of view, you've got to look at his record in Scottish football. He's done a good job with Alloa quickly. The turnaround he made with St Mirren was exceptional, and I remember when they beat us. Was it 2-0 they beat us?
I think so, yeah.
Under him, and I think it probably could have been more. I think they were really good that night. So yeah, we've got to focus on that, and then hope that him going down to England, whether it was can be classed as a success or not, is good experience for him. I think that the ones, if you're wanting to look at the positive sides, if you look at managers that have gone down there and not done well, but then come back up, the obvious ones are Neil Lennon and Derek McInnes.
Mm-hmm.
I think Derek McInnes is probably quite a good example of probably someone that might be quite similar to Jack Ross. So, I think we've got to be positive. My one worry is, does he play quite a similar style to Heckingbottom? And we already worry about if he goes one up front next Saturday, how the fans will react to that. So that's the only kind of worry. Although you'd kind of hope that it'd be drummed into them that, you know, the one thing the fans look for is attacking football and what have you. And, you know, I know Leanne and everyone at the club have kind of talked about the style that they want to see from us. So you have to hope that that's been discussed at the interviews and what have you.
What I was most curious about, in terms of Jack Ross coming in and the amount of players that we gave 2-3 year deals to under Heckingbottom, do you think he's maybe under an MO to keep these players, or would you think we maybe see a clear out come January or the window after?
It's going to be difficult, isn't it? I mean, how do you get rid of the rumours about some of the guys being on quite big wages? The main one would be Vela. I mean, he's the one that seems to be that Heckingbottom seemed to really want. It was quite heralded when he came in, and hasn't really taken to the team at all. Doidge, we've seen recently that he's got space to turn it around. Newell, I think, in the last game as well, a bit more positive shoots as well. So, you know, maybe these players will work in the right formation with the right balance. I hope so, because, as you say, when you've got them on sort of 3-year deals, if they don't work out, then it can become really difficult to move on. Although there's decent money in sort of English League 1 and 2 compared to us, so you never know. Some of them might see what they've done in England and still want to take a chance on them. I think Leanne already touched on, she expects us to see a few changes in January. Any new manager is going to want to add some kind of touch of their own, I suppose. So yeah, I think he'll already have an idea of what needs identified. I think we know ourselves we need some more pace in the team. But yeah, I think the last game, the 4-1 game, certainly gives us a bit more hope to what the current team can be capable of if set up properly.
And do you think there's a chance to, like you mentioned, Vela there, and obviously Doidge had a hat-trick, so a great game against St Johnstone, but do you think there's a chance for a couple of the new signings to, you know, prove that they've maybe been written off too soon?
I think so. I think Doidge was always one that people really wanted him to do well because he could see he worked hard. And I think if a couple of those chances had gone in against Aberdeen, then he probably would have got a few more goals since then. That game seemed to just sort of drain the confidence from him. So I think he, you know, last week, that first goal, if the keeper had saved it properly, who knows what we'd be saying now. Thankfully, he made a little bit of Amila, and you could kind of see the relief come out of Doidge at that point, and went on to get the hat-trick in the other 2 goals. The flick, the movement for the flick, and then the flick itself was great striker movement. And then the header was brilliant centre-forward's header as well. So I think there's hope there. I think we've seen flashes of James as well, can be good. I think Newell and Vela were the ones that kind of stuck out to people as being maybe getting written off a bit more. I've been really critical of Vela. I think a lot of times when he's played, you hardly see him in a game. You hardly notice he's playing. So it'll be interesting if we can find a position that suits him, because he was well highly rated when he came in. So he's obviously got something about him. So fingers crossed. I do think there's players in there. We just have to hope that Jack Ross is the man to get out of them.
And final question before I let you go. Obviously, we're recording this on the Friday night. Should Ryan Porteous start tomorrow?
Should he? I'd love to see it. I'd be surprised if he got any game time. But yeah, I'd love to see him get a game. I mean, I think from Steve Clarke's point of view, these games are write-offs now. You know, they're not doing anything. So why not give a chance to the young lads? I would have liked to have seen Billy Gilmore in the squad as well. But from a Hibs point of view, yeah, why not give Porteous a game? Give him an opportunity to show what he can do on that stage, and add a bit more value to him for us as well.
Well, thank you very much for that, Callum.
No bother, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Cheers.
See you later.
So, joining us now on the line from the States is Jamie. How you doing, Jamie?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Can't complain. So, Jack Ross, what's your initial thoughts?
Delighted, Gav. Honestly, delighted. You know, not just saying it because it's coincidental, but he was my first choice right from the get-go. I think he just ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? I mean, for me, we were looking for someone. What was the biggest criticism of Hickey? He didn't really know the Scottish game, kind of underestimated it a little bit. And you've got Jack Ross, who very successful by all accounts. I can't tell you much about Alloa, but from everything you read, he was very successful there. I do remember his St Mirren team in the Championship, and he had them playing some good football. And then, most importantly, his recent appointment. Right, it's not worked out, and he's been sacked. But I think one of the impressive things is the amount of Sunderland fans that I've read that have been impressed. And I've been gutted to let him go, to be honest. And you don't really hear that much about a manager that's just been sacked,
I think after last night's result as well, 3-0 they got beat. A lot of fans really saying that he was sacked too soon.
Right. And even, just on the Hibs, Facebook post announcing the announcement today, there's a good handful of Sunderland fans that are not just wishing him well, but as I say, saying, we'll let him go too early. You've got a cracking manager on your hands. Very, very, hard done by Sunderland. I think the penny, starting to drop that, let's be honest, who's been successful at Sunderland over the last, X amount of years? It's kind of like a poison chalice. And, they've got the biggest budget. I get that, but 10 losses in 75. Okay, granted, there was a lot of draws in there, but it's not bad going. And as I say, knows the game. I know there's a wee perception out there that, he might go back to playing the one up front and whatnot. But to me, that doesn't really bother me, because there's ways to get Canberra and Dodge, on the pitch at the same time. And we've seen Canberra kind of play on the left. I personally think he can be effective out there, and we can kind of fit a formation in that maybe doesn't read a 3-5-2 or a 4-4-2, but it gets them both on the pitch. And I might be wrong, but I'm sure there was an old quote by Jack Ross. He's a manager, like he's not stuck in his ways. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read it that, i.e. he's willing to change and willing to, try different formations and whatnot.
So, looking at the sort of last game against St Johnstone, what would you say Jack Ross has taken from that?
Enormous encouragement. I mean, he's hopefully what he's taken out of that. The biggest thing for me is getting, as I say, Dodge and Canberra on the park at the same time. I don't really think one works without the other. So I think he would have been, all across the park, he would have been confident, to be honest. I mean, Jason Naismith probably had his best game in a Hibs jersey. So, David Graves not too far away, so we've got a headache there, but it's a good headache for him to have. So I think he's going to be encouraged by the team that, that started, but also encouraged by the likes of, Gray and McGregor. Because at the end of the day, Gav, this is a guy who knows these players. How often have we said over the last, couple of years, oh, bloody hell, Jack Ross is trying to steal our players again. I mean, he's, McGeoch and whatnot, and so many players Hibs have been linked with in the past, and yet then you read, Sunderland boss Jack Ross is also interested. So there's kind of a familiarity in the way we think. The players kind of that catch his eye, so I just think it's a great fit.
We were talking previously about how high his stock was before he got the Sunderland job. Obviously, it kind of needed to be get a big job like Sunderland. And then we were speaking to Callum just previously, and he pointed out, Lennon and McInnes both, really done well up here, and took big jobs down south and didn't work out for them, and then have came back up to success at Scotland. So Hibs fans that are maybe a bit hesitant, should they be thinking the likes of Lennon and McInnes to get a bit more encouragement?
Exactly. I mean, it works both ways, doesn't it? I mean, how many times have we seen English players come up here, it no work out, Scottish managers and players go down there, it doesn't work out. You can't really look too much into it and say just because it doesn't work out means it's never going to work out on the other hand. It's McInnes and Lennon prime examples. So I think Jack Ross, as I say, he's only going to have learnt, and he's only going to have gained a great amount of experience working down at Sunderland. By all accounts, the facilities were top notch. And again, the most important thing to me is he didn't go down there and become a laughingstock for the rest of the league and for their own supporters. They value him, they respect him. I think that's another thing. I've actually got a St Mirren pal who I've been speaking to this morning. He's personally delighted with the news because has a lot of time for Jack Ross, and he says honestly, one of the biggest take homes from Jack Ross is how much he engages with the fans. Like, he's just meant to be a great guy. Time for everybody. We'll, come around the stadium and, pre-match, we'll shake hands, and very, very involved on match day. And to be honest, what we've just experienced with Heckingbottom, we couldn't have asked for a better kind of person, because the club needs to come together now,
Indeed, I agree. I was also, after the St Johnstone game there, obviously Vela didn't play and Slivka came back into the squad. Do you think Ross is sitting there thinking Vela has to be dropped and Slivka has to be given a more permanent position?
Honestly, for me, I'm going to kind of give everyone a clean slate. I mean, Deutsch is just the best example. We all had him written off. Well, most of us had him written off, and he's just proved everyone wrong. Vela could be the same way. However, me personally, for me, he's down the pecking order. I thought Slivka was impressive against you. Whenever he's played, I've kind of been impressed with Slivka. Sometimes, he's a bit inconsistent. But let's be honest, for me, Vela has had a lot of time on the pitch. He's not really shown it. I'm not going to write him off yet, but he's not a starter for me. I would be more inclined to start, Slivka in that starting 11 for sure.
Do you think Slivka and Vela could have a bit of competition for a Sunderland player that Jack Ross knows quite well and we know very well? Dylan McGeoch?
Oh, Dylan McGeoch. Honestly, so I've already been thinking about. I mean, you know what's going to happen. Like McGeoch and McNulty, we're going to be linked with all of them. But let's be honest, we'd take them in a heartbeat. We would take them in a heartbeat. And a lot of fans are saying, expect Lewis Morgan to come in January. Obviously it's all speculation, but maybe another midfielder to the ranks, albeit a winger. But we're going to be linked with a lot of former players. But again, it's kind of unfortunate how it didn't work out for him, because he did sign a good high quality standard of player. McGeoch, by all accounts, I don't follow Sunderland too much, but I have read their fans say how impressed they've been with him. So again, I don't know how much he's been playing and if it's maybe kind of pie in the sky if we'll even have a chance of getting him back, but of course take him in a heartbeat.
And someone that Jack Ross knows really well, that it's Stevie Mallan. We kind of briefly discussed that. What's your kind of thoughts? Could he have a real second chance and a real sort of lifeline to kind of turn around this season?
Gav, honestly, it's so difficult with Stevie Mallan. I find myself just chopping and changing my opinion. I'll be honest, I'm so wishy-washy with him. Other times I'm fighting and arguing with my dad that is the best thing since sliced bread, because all of a sudden he can score like the goal he scored against Hearts. I mean, that was right up there, top drawer. Like, the guy has phenomenal ability, but like we've all talked about in the past, he doesn't track back too much, he doesn't tackle too much, he has flaws to his game. Now I'm sure he's going to, as you just said, familiar with Jack Ross, and everyone's going to kind of up their game. However, I like the St Johnstone lineup. I thought it worked. It is incredible to think, because of what he can bring, of starting a game with Stevie Mallan on the bench. But someone who I was kind of so-so about but really stepped up against St Johnstone was Hallberg. Like, I don't know if he's like wanting to play the defensive midfield role. He apparently came in as a box-to-box, but I thought he played it brilliantly against St Johnstone. So, if you can get Slivka and Hallberg in there, giving Scott Allen more of a free role, I don't know, but I think Stevie Mallan starts on the bench now and tries to work his way back into the team.
You mentioned Hallberg there. I think, a lot of people might argue Allen, but I think Allen's been a bit hit and miss this season due to other circumstances and stuff, but I think Hallberg's probably been our signing this season.
I agree.
No, I would agree too. It's funny, if you had asked me a couple months ago, I would have personally said Tom James. And look, there's another right back, and now we've got Naismith who's playing pretty well. Well, I'll say he played well against St Johnstone. I think he has been a bit, hit and miss as well. St Johnstone, obviously, that result and performance is going to get a lot of us carried away, but he did play very, very well. So, I would have said personally Tom James before that, but as I say, no, Hallberg played superb.
So just quickly, what's your kind of thoughts on the outgoing manager Heckingbottom? Should we have given him more time, or was it the right time to make a change?
Nah, it was the right time to make the change. I personally think he's been unfortunate on a few accounts. Honestly, I think on any other given day we would have absolutely trounced Aberdeen up at Pittodrie. I hate to use things like fluky and lucky and all that, because you can always be countered by you make your own luck and all that, and I agree with that, but any other day we would have. That's 3 points to Hibs. in certain other games as well, 2 up against St Johnstone. Now, I know there's a mitigating circumstances which he caused, sitting back and whatnot, St Johnstone prime example, but he didn't make Deutsch miss those chances against Aberdeen. Other games can be kind of picked it a little bit like that, where it was quite unfortunate, but it's a results business, isn't it? And I just think it was the right time. Obviously, it's perfect with the international break. Don't get me wrong, I was one of the ones who retained a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I thought, he's not too far away. Like, I'm seeing all these draws, but I'm trying to analyse them sensibly and think, this was a deserved draw. But this one here, let's be honest, he was so unlucky not to get the 3 points. But I think it was the right time. I've got another point as well. I don't know. I've not really heard it mentioned before, and this might just be total crap, but I do believe there was a thing in the back of the Hibs fans' mind that went against Heckenbottom. So we obviously know Appleton was set to be announced. He was the favourite. He was the runner. I was one of the ones doing all the research, like, Appleton, let's see what we're getting. Let's see, Heckenbottom all of a sudden. All right, change the web pages. Let's see who have we got. Well, Heckenbottom. Now, I personally think, as daft as this sounds, that Paul Heckenbottom, his name partly went against him. I think right from the get-go, because it's a bit of a daft name, right? Heckenbottom. I thought about it straight from the start. I was like, Heckenbottom 6, Feckenbottom. I was like, we're going to get all this. Like, it's just a wee negative narrative. Might be daft, Gav, but I thought that went against him from the start, and Hibs fans were going to give him a bit of a harder time just because of his name. Obviously, there was much more than that, but that's what.
There's probably somebody out there with some sort of psychology degree that could probably back that up or something. I'm not clever enough to do that, but no, I can understand where you're coming from with that. But I was the exact same. Yep. Like, we had somebody lined up that was like an Oxford fan and was ready to talk about Appleton, and we had all this stuff because it just seemed like Appleton was going to get appointed. I had pretty much a whole episode lined up for him, and then it's not him. It was nuts.
Yep.
So just finally then, just to finish up, like I said to Callum, we're recording this on the Friday night. Does Ryan Porteous start tomorrow?
For Scotland, I mean, it's a problem position. I'm an enthusiastic Scotland fan, very rare breed. I'll watch the game, even though it's kind of meaningless, but at the same time we're building towards, the big playoffs. I personally think we have hit rock bottom in the centre defensive positions, so why not? And it might be being a bit biased as well, but get him in. He's a super player, and he's only going to go up, at his age and the experience that he's getting at Hibs. So I would put him in.
Is he better than McKenna?
Mate, on it, see for me, I don't really rate Scott McKenna.
Neither do I.
Every time I've seen him for Scotland, or every time Hibs have played Aberdeen, or I perhaps have caught the Aberdeen highlights, I'm not for him. He's kind of a big brute, a big huddy, but I don't even think he does that part of the game too well. You would think he would be more commanding because of his stature and his size, but nah, I think he's vastly overrated.
I agree.
Right, we'll wait and see if he plays tomorrow. So thank you very much for taking the time to chat to us, Jamie, and giving your thoughts on the new manager.
Yep, Gav, no problem. Have a good day.
You too. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, man. Bye.
So we asked you guys on social media if you were happy with the appointment. So James, kicking off, said, like a Quaker at Easter time will tell, but I'm no singing any Wheel songs this time.
Very good.
Ian has just simply said, yes, Colin, happy with that. Think Ross will do a decent job, and hopefully will be given money to bring in his own players. Touched on that earlier, but can you see us doing anything in January, or do you think maybe wait until the summer?
I think he'll be given something to work with in January, but I think the summer will be the big point of where he gets to decide who he wants to keep, who he wants to get rid of. And again, as it is with every cycle come the summer, it'll be how much wages can he free up. I still can't see Big Ron pumping in even hundreds of thousands. But I think we might get like the odd big signing for 400,000 or 500,000 maybe if we're lucky. If we're paying 350 for Dodge, then you'd hope we'd at least match that come the summer transfer spend. But here's hoping.
Next up we have David saying we need to give him and the team our backing. Glory to the Highbees. Callum saying he knows the Scottish game, so let's give him the full backing. Maybe get Dillon and McNulty back too. So I think there's a lot of people that are going to be pleased to see somebody that knows the Scottish game. I think that was kind of I'm not saying the club would have to be persuaded by fans' perception, but I think that's the way the fans really want to see it go.
Well, you'd hope they're at least listening to us and taking on board the fact that obviously we just sat through the heckin' bottom era now and watched League One style players come up and struggle. Here's hoping now that they can pick up their game now and adapt to the Scottish game a lot quicker than they have done in the first quarter of the season. But as I said previously, for me, Ross is definitely the best appointment if you want knowledge and depth in the Scottish game.
Yeah. Ross has said happy with him. He done very well at St Mirren and he done a decent job at Sunderland. Folk talk about budget he had there, but Sunderland were in an absolute state when he got there. I think he'll be a good appointment. Touched on that earlier, but yeah, and we had Sean from the SAFC blog saying, you know, how much of a mess Sunderland were in when he got there.
Indeed, he was also heavily undercut by people above him as well. I know they sold a big couple of players that he was hoping to keep a hold of.
A lot of the young laddies as well.
A lot of the young laddies that were coming through. I think there was a young striker, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, had scored a good few goals last season.
I remember them on that documentary.
Yeah, and without Jack Ross's permission, they sold him and never reinvested the money for him.
There'll be a second season of that coming, is there no?
There is, but then I've also been told that they're starting another one and it isn't at Sunderland.
But I'm sure there's a second season coming of that, so we'll get to see our manager quite in depth.
Hopefully keeping his calm.
Mako has just sort of said happy, and Ian has said no, a massive gamble done now in the Premier League, done now with a big club like ours. Cheap option as usual by Hibs. Hearts interviewed him, not good enough for them, probably for reasons I've said. I wish him well. Time will tell.
That was a bit harsh, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Do you understand where he's coming from?
In relation to interviewing for the Hearts and being turned down, no, I'm pretty sure I read him being quoted saying that he wanted a fresh start somewhere totally new, and I've no doubt Hearts probably did try to sell the club to him as best they could, but
I hope it comes out he turned them down.
Well, me too.
Sean has said, meh, time will tell. Well, was never really arsed, just want him to win games and get us European football. I mean, that's sort of the main thing.
Well, that's the MO for every manager that walks through the door.
Money Minter 75 said, I'm feeling really positive about this appointment. I think the timing of it helps because he's got time to work with the current crop of players, and then he'll know what he needs when it comes to January. Good point for Money there.
Indeed.
And Ricky has said Carlsberg Fridays. Paul has said, just make sure you play 2 up front and you'll be okay. Scott has said, good appointment in my opinion, let's get behind him. Cheryl, just a gif of David Tennant as Doctor Who, saying oh yes. And finally Julie saying yes. So overall very positive. I mean, a lot of folk are going to be, but I'll just take Instagram while you're kind of gauging the overall opinions.
It seems pretty positive, as is with the whole muddle that is social media. I've read probably a lot more negative ones, a lot more negative reviews of Jack Ross than I have done positive ones, but as always, we need to stand up, we need to back him and hope the fortunes turn around. R5ARP, I don't know how you read out your username. Good luck to him, Highbees, to win the cup this year, as long as we get a defensive midfielder. I think that's the priority for January. It has to be. And
I think Halberg could, like we've talked about how good he is, I think he could be freed up, and I think we've got a real player there once he's freed up.
He does, yes. I think he's a much more creative player. I remember giving his YouTube highlights that we watched when he first signed, and the boy can definitely find a pass.
Aye. And finally, a Sunderland fan here, Lewis Boyle. He's not a very good manager, but good luck anyway. So there are Sunderland fans that weren't impressed with him, but no. So we've kind of had it from both ends from Sunderland.
You can't keep everybody happy.
Yeah. So, Jack Ross then.
Jack Ross. Aye. I'm happy enough.
So what's kind of like? Kind of finish up with Jack Ross then. What's your kind of thoughts? What's his aims for the season? I mean, we're 2 points off 6th place, 6 points off 5th. It's plenty of time season to turn it around, but you know he does have a bit of an uphill struggle in terms of, you know, our initial thoughts aiming for 3rd and stuff. What can Hibs fans? What's the minimum this season? What's the minimum?
Well, naturally, as the minimum with every season is top 6. You then have to be looking at top 3. But I feel with the amount of work that he's going to have to do with the players that he's got, I think top 3 is probably just out of reach. If we get top 4, and are we out both cups?
Just the League Cup.
Just the League Cup. Well, I'll take a Scottish Cup final. I'll take a Scottish Cup final any day of the week. But another decent Scottish Cup run, and if we could finish in the top 4 and always above Hearts. We
mentioned defensive midfield there. Is there anything else that you think he needs to be looking at in January?
Depending how Boyle does, depending if Boyle can stay fit, I think we probably need another out and out winger to offer some support up the sides. I'd like to see Ollie get a game. maybe actually get a few more minutes than what Heckingbottom was willing to give him. And unfortunately, I do like the man. I think Hanlon's probably on his last legs now in terms of his performances. He did play well against St Johnstone, but I think we have to start looking at natural replacements as well for Paul Hanlon.
I think it's only 29-30. I wouldn't rule him out yet. I know he did have a bad injury last season. He's kind of not been the exact same. He's not been as good as he was before he went away for that. But I don't know. I think Hanlon. I think part of that is down to what's in front of him. You know.
Oh, of course, he was a much better player when you've got the likes of Marvin Bartley in front of him, or the Australian guys.
As any defender would be. I think any defender improves if they've got protection in front of them.
I'm sure you could ask the Livingston back four, they'll tell you the same.
Aye. Because a lot of things, people were writing Livingston off this season, saying they'll go down because they sold, was it 2 or 3 their defenders? 2. They sold their 2 best defenders. Obviously Halkett went to Hearts and Gallagher went to Motherwell.
That's right.
Both been linked with the Scotland squad this season. So it shows how good those players are. And folk were saying, oh well, they're gone, Livingston are down. And Bartley has came in, sat in front of that defence and made average centre backs like Lithgow, who was playing in League One the majority of his career, and Lammy, or whatever you pronounce it, who is played left back last season. He's now playing centre back, and Bartley's just protecting them. It's just so. I'm not saying we'll go back for Bartley. But we really need to look at somebody that's going to sit in front of that defence. I think Heckingbottom kind of ruled it out and thought he could, Scottish football's know that great. I can play this, all this fast playing football. I don't need the defensive midfielder.
It was definitely a miscalculation for Heckingbottom thinking he can get away with not playing a defensive midfielder up here, especially in the way that we would like to play. I
think that was proven when I'm playing. I mean, we saw Vela play there against, I think it was Arbroath we played in the League Cup,
right.
And I thought, you know what, I can see shades of Dylan McGeoch. He's able to sort of turn a player, get a bit of space, have a bit of time, pick a pass, control the tempo of the game. I'm like, I can get on board with this is brilliant. But then
he was playing against Arbroath.
And then you see him at Ibrox and you're like, that's not that laddie's position.
It definitely isn't. I'm quite confused about Vela, about where he would sit naturally. I don't think Vela really knows it. I don't know what kind of role he played at Bolton, but I know he came up regarded really highly by most people in that league actually that Bolton were in that season. But I've got nothing against the laddie. I hope he kicks on. I hope he does well. But we definitely need somebody that's natural position is to sit in front of that back four.
Yeah. Okay, we'll finish up there with the Jack Ross talk.
Jack Ross talk.
So no Hibs this weekend? So what's your plans for the weekend then?
Get the Bairns on Sunday. I'll have a riveting day in soft play with 50 other screaming wins.
I don't know if you listened to the podcast last week, but I went to soft play for the first time in years because my mate's kids, about 2 now, and it was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Aye.
Get your shoes off and go down the big slide.
There was one slide which, it was really quite an incline, and you I almost swore going down it. I had to remember there was kids going around me because it really took me by surprise how much of an incline it was and how quick you went down.
Oh, definitely. My kids are only wee, but they've less fear than me. I stand at the top of that soft plane and go, no, on you go, on you go. I'll climb back down. I'm not going down that shit. But other than that, no, it's a pretty chilled out weekend for me.
Good. I'm looking into my missus away to Birmingham for the week. I don't know.
Birmingham.
Aye, away to some gigs, and then she's got plans. Sites we're seeing on the Monday and stuff, so the weekend to myself, which is great. So I might take advantage of that and head up to Forfar on Sunday and watch the ladies game, the final game of the season. So I'm looking forward to that. But other than that, just chilling out and just enjoying a quiet house.
Definitely.
Just enjoying the peace and quiet. So yeah, it'll be good.
Long lions, we need to pushing you out your bed.
Aye, well, I don't know, the cat will probably want fed, so aye. Anyway, we'll finish up there. Thanks for taking the time to come out, Nick.
Thanks for having me.
And in case folk are wondering, Dave is busy. As he's been talking about, he's setting up a store in Gretna, so he's been boss man, Dave the now. And Stephen is away. Where are Scotland playing them on? Cyprus, aye. So he's in Cyprus now. He's sending photos of the Syrian border and stuff. Looks rough.
It does look rough. looks like Leaf on a Saturday night.
Aye. So so shout out to the guys if Dave's listening at work or Stephen's listening in Cyprus or on the plane back of that. And they'll be back. I don't know if they'll be back next week. I don't know. But on that press conference on Monday with Jack Ross. As I mentioned, I'm lucky enough to go to them, but due to work and stuff, it's been on hold at the moment. So I spoke to work and I was like, look, can I either take annual leave or can I swap to a back shift? So I'm doing a back shift on Monday, so there will be no podcast on Monday night. So I'm going to move it to the Wednesday. But yeah, so Wednesday for the Jack Ross talk continued, I guess, and the Motherwell preview. But yeah, that'll be on Wednesday next week. So, but this one will kind of tide over until then. So
definitely, we hope so.
I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping to have a good chat with Jack Ross, and it should be good. If hearing what Jamie's saying, is apparently a great guy with the fans, so maybe try and drop in that I'm actually a Hibs fan and not just for the BBC or something or for Fourth. But he's I'm excited.
Let's hope he manages as well as he talks a good game.
I'm really excited by Jack Ross. I think we've talked about it a few times in this episode, his sort of reputation he had before he went to Sunderland. There was a real his stock was high, and I firmly believe that the infrastructure's in place. I'm really excited about what Graham Matthews is going to do as the sporting director. I think there's exciting times coming ahead with Hibs, and folk say I'm too positive, but I don't care. We've got a new manager and I'm excited.
The glass is always half full.
Well, thanks again, Nick, and we'll be back on Wednesday.